Birthright citizenship exists because of me, descendants of former slaves. That's what it was for.
The law, by which I presume you mean the 14th Amendment of the United States, wasn't passed simply to ensure that formerly enslaved people enjoyed citizenship. You know how I know this? Because it doesn't say so. Literally no words related to enslaved people in the 14th Amendment.
It was not designed for an immigrant to hop over the fence and have a baby, and hey, that baby gets American citizenship. Wrong.
If Congress wanted to limit it to this specific purpose, they could have easily done so. By your logic, the next time you need an oil change, you'll tell the mechanic, please build me an entire car. You would not do that, and neither did Congress. Third, as set forth in the SCOTUS opinion that you did not read, the idea of birthright citizenship, the law of the land, had been around for hundreds of years before the 14th Amendment was passed.
But there's a difference between giving citizenship to the children of slaves, the children of those subject to the Middle Passage, the children of sharecroppers, and the children of those who were once considered property, and giving citizenship to the children of people who crossed the border illegally, stay in taxpayer-funded luxury hotels. There's a big difference. My great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation, Rosedown Plantation in Louisiana. He had to join the Union Color Guard to gain his freedom. By morphing the citizenship clause into something that it wasn't meant to be, it's demeaning to descendants of slaves like me. We are talking about a direct descendant of a slave that earned the right to be in this country and passed that ilk down to his ancestry. People bled for it, and it means something. The purpose of President Trump's Birthright Citizenship executive order is that the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment was never meant to apply to children of illegal or legal aliens. Allowing birthright citizenship to stay in place dilutes the citizenship of not just Black Americans like me, but every single American citizen that had to earn it the right way. Let's say this in black and white. Either you're a U.S. citizen or you are not. Now, the left has spent decades cheapening what it means to be an American citizen. They've quite literally been chipping away at the basic value of American citizenship. They pretend to be altruistic.
In 1857, Dred Scott was told by America that Black people like him couldn't become Americans. Since that time, the ancestors of Black Americans fought so hard to make sure that something like that wouldn't happen to other Black Americans. They fought so hard, they protested to the point that the US government wrote 14th Amendment. This 14th Amendment was only for foundational Black Americans. They were writing it to make sure that each and every person who descended from the formerly enslaved people would become American by default. After that, we've been watching many incidents, many cases of migrants misusing this 14th Amendment in order to become Americans. In fact, 67% of all Latinos living in the USA have become Americans through this 14th Amendment. We've had, and I want y'all to hear from these people. They're all ranting, they're all talking about these cases. And as you're watching, let me know what y'all think down there in the comment section. And those viewers who are always coming back to support us, you are highly appreciated. Watch the video from the beginning to the end. I'm coming back at the end with my insightful commentaries. Let's get into it.
Birthright citizenship and the 14th Amendment has always been about foundational Black Americans. Case closed, no debate. But they try to find loopholes in it the same way they try to find loopholes in the civil rights era, the same way they try to find loopholes in our rallies, our protests, and our marches, the same way they're trying to find loopholes right now with reparations. Everything that immigrants do has to be funneled through what Black Americans have created. Everything from the United States of America to a reparations paycheck. Birthright citizenship is for foundational Black Americans. Immigrants want to get in on it. Civil rights were for foundational Black Americans. Immigrants want to get in on it. Reparations is for foundational Black Americans. Immigrants want to get in on it. There's this whole system that has been created where you take things that Black Americans have created and then you try to hand it off to all these other groups. And when foundational Black Americans say, hail to the gnaw, and we snatch it back because we delineate, everybody cries foul. Well, your ass gonna be shedding some tethered tears because we don't give a damn. This is our house. This is our time, and what we say goes. And if we shut you down in the process, you just gonna be shut down and you gotta live with it. If you name everything that Black Americans have done, if you name everything Black Americans have created, It all goes back to the excellence of our country, but don't nobody ever want to put the spotlight on that. That's fine, because we're going to put the spotlight on it, and everybody knows our spotlight shines brightest amongst everybody's. And all we doing, family, is that we putting a twist on it. Each brother and sister, king, queen, goddess, and God, and we doing it our way. They cannot see us, not at all. They can try, but they're going to fail. And everybody always fails when they come up against them.
It wasn't designed for rich immigrants to come over here and buy their citizenship by having babies.
So even when it comes down to birthright citizenship, it was Black Americans who freaking created that bad boy. Straight up. And I'm going to prove it to you right now, okay? If it were not for Black Americans, there would be no birthright citizenship. If it were not for Black Americans, there would be no birthright citizenship. That's facts. That's facts. All of what is going on in the United States of America is because Black Americans fought for it and made this country, our country, live up to what it's supposed to be. When you want to talk about the rulers of the good in America, you're talking about Black America.
They don't want to tell you guys the truth about the ethnic Black American in the Supreme Court ruling and the Supreme Court deliberations that are going on right now. And so they're keeping it very quiet. They keep bringing up, I think it's Wong versus Ark or whatever. I forgot his name. They keep bringing that up because that's a safer topic, because they don't want us to know how much we're part of this Constitution, because we are the only other group besides the non-melanated that are embedded in America, like in the Constitution. Everybody else who's not us is not really welcome here. And they've all come through us. They don't want us to know that they have every melanated immigrant who's come here, Asian, African, Caribbean, Hispanic, whatever, has come here by using us, the ethnic Black American, as precedent from the Constitution. So let me break it down. So I thought they were deliberating over whether the fact that the Constitution, like birthright citizenship, was originally for the ethnic Black American. And so they were fighting with the Supreme Court to be able to deport people based on that. But that's really not what's going on. It's actually deeper, y'all. So Trump is not arguing about that. Trump is saying that's what it is. Trump is saying we can deport whoever we want to deport who's a child of non-citizens and people on visas, because they're not citizens, because that rule of law that you guys have been using for a century or so for immigration it's null and void, because it's only for ethnic Black Americans. It was only for the children of slaves. It is not for any of these people that you guys keep letting in. You keep using this law, and then you're manipulating it, and you're applying it to a situation that it doesn't apply to. So Trump is like, I'm not even going to argue about that, because that's what the law was for. So there's no need to argue. Y'all need to get these quote unquote anchor babies out of here, and I'm going to do it. What he's fighting for is that the federal judges are ruling it unconstitutional in different places. They're saying, hey, this is unconstitutional. The precedent has been set that all these people have been having these anchor babies, and you can't now enforce this rule. And Trump's people are saying, the president is enacting a constitutional amendment. We are in the Constitution, y'all. We are in the Constitution, is saying this constitutional amendment was for the ethnic Black American, and nobody is arguing with that. They can't, because if you have any law degree, if you're a judge worth your salt, that's a fact. What it seems like they're arguing about is that if Trump makes an executive decision, he's saying, why do these lesser judges in these different courts and circuits and districts can overturn my decision by ruling it unconstitutional, when I'm saying as president, it is constitutional, and this is the executive order. And he's tired of these federal judges overruling and calling some of his actions unconstitutional, and then he can't do what he really wants to do. So what they're fighting for is who has more power, the federal judges or the president. So that's what's going on. Trump is already operating on the fact that nobody who is if you're not ethnic Black American in this country and you came here and you are not a citizen or a legal resident of this country, your kids are no longer citizens. Because birthright citizenship was only for ethnic Black Americans, the children of slaves. It was not for anybody else. Now the Ark Wong or whatever, so this is different because then people try to bring it up and say, oh, well, he proved it was different. No, he didn't. That they're bringing up that court of law and they're bringing that up because it's safer. They don't want to talk about the fact that Trump is already saying, yeah, if y'all not Black American, you can't stay here.
We'll take care of the birthright citizenship because that was not meant for rich people from other countries. That was meant for, actually, it was meant for the babies of slaves. If you look at it, it was a month after the Civil War ended that it went through. That's because it was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for rich people from China. They came over in Gulf Streams. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So I know they got it wrong.
And I just want everybody to understand, so it's very, very clear, that foundational ethnic indigenous people were the first birthright citizens in America. And it was for us because when the Civil War was won by our ancestors and the Americans they drafted into the war, the government wanted to make sure that we can never go back to that state again and be in bondage again as before the Civil War. A month after the Civil War ended, they voted that the children of those in bondage would be birthright citizens in America. Because even though our ancestors who fought and were in bondage were citizens, now they wanted to make sure that their descendants from here on out will be American citizens with no conflict from any racist, any white supremacists, nothing. We were the first birthright citizens. The law was intended for us, and this is what Trump is arguing. It was never intended for immigrants. It just wasn't. Now, as time went on, we never argued because of the nature and gracious heart that we had. We never argued against it. We never fought against immigrants coming here as ethnic and foundational indigenous people. We never argued with the fact that they used that law to extend to all other immigrants in the world. And we never argued against it because of the nature of who we are. But once we realized that people are coming here off of our hard work, our ancestors fought in the Civil War. Our ancestors went through centuries of bondage. Our ancestors went through Jim Crow. Your ancestors didn't. And all the sacrifices we made to get to another place and get to another level in this country that you guys come here and benefit off of, because everything you have comes through us. Everything you had was something that we set the precedent for. And we never fought to keep it just for ourselves. We shared it. But the disrespect is so disgusting at this point, and it's just time for us to give back to our own and stop worrying about everybody else because they don't appreciate it. They're entitled, disgusting, whether they are, it doesn't matter what color they are. If they are white supremacists up here, it doesn't matter. So
this comment reflects two important points about the intended meaning of the clause by its authors, I think. First, they intended that the children of tribal Indians who resided on reservations and owed their direct allegiance to their tribes would not be entitled to birthright citizenship, but the children of assimilated Indians who had left their reservations and had established permanent residence among the body politic of the states would be entitled to birthright citizenship. Second, it is not at all plausible that the framers of the Citizenship Clause intended that tribal Indians to be able to evade this limitation on birthright citizenship for their children by the simple expedient of leaving the reservation long enough to give birth to a child. The key distinction between tribal Indians and assimilated Indians was allegiance. Tribal Indians owed their direct allegiance to the tribe, while an Indian who established a permanent domicile within the state and assimilated into the body politic, committed his primary allegiance to the United States and thus entitled his children to citizenship at birth.
I don't know if everybody caught Lindsey Graham saying this.
Slavery? Yeah. I'm not there. I overcome all of our mistakes with the American Indian, you name it.
Why those two terms together, and why did he sound like he wasn't supposed to say it? Then you got Trump going on national TV to say
That case is all about babies of slaves.
Everybody skipped over this.
Do you think Native Americans today are birthright citizens?
I think so. I mean, obviously they've been granted citizenship by statute.
Put aside the statute. Do you think they're birthright citizens?
No, I think the clear understanding that everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
I understand.
But let's not forget about this clear, direct statement.
They intended that the children of tribal Indians, who resided on reservations and owed their direct allegiance to their tribes, would not be entitled to birthright citizenship, but the children of assimilated Indians and had established permanent residence among the body politic of the states would be entitled to birthright citizenship.
What I know and what I've heard and just what I've seen is the GOV is trying to say that birthright citizenships of Native Americans isn't a real thing because we actually came from Siberia. People's reservations are getting split in half and some are being sent to Canada.
Bitch! In regards to this birthright citizenship stuff, I want to be clear. I never really talked about this and never really got down into the subject of this because I didn't understand what was occurring and why it was occurring. At the end of the day, the constitutional clause that talks about birthright citizenship 100% was meant to include or was 100% meant to refer to the children of prisoners of war. Okay? It does not mean, and it did not mean at that time, that if somebody from Libya comes to America, that when they have a child, that they have birthright citizenship. It never did mean that, because at that time, when that law was put into place, there were only Indigenous Americans and Caucasians, or Europeans, rather. There wasn't a whole bunch of other people here. So it at the time, it addressed the conversation of the time, of the moment, right? So the issue that I have with immigrants coming in and trying to use that as like a catch-all type of umbrella clause for them is that they then are now pushing that means that they have the same rights as those who are indigenous to this land, one, which is Black Americans, who I'm specifically talking about, and those who actually created the system with which we currently live in, which are the people who conquered us at the end of the day. That's what happened, right? Right? So the issue comes in when they are, and see, this is what they're doing. They are trying to say that Black people are immigrants and we're immigrants, so we should be able to be treated and get the same rights as Black people. And it's just not the truth. We are not immigrants. We were already here. So the issue with this conversation is that it separates us from our birthright and our inheritance to the land, okay? And to, to benefit from the system, that was created from on our backs. And it really was. And so when the immigrants come here and they say, this place was built on the backs of immigrants. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So Black people, you got to pay attention to this, because actually at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they are trying to say that Black people are similar to immigrants, that we're the same, and we're not. We were indigenous to the land. We could never be the same. And I think we need to get a little bit ahead of this at the end of the day. I think instead of us even trying to play on this level field, because we are indigenous to the land, we have more capability and more power than we even know. And we need to start setting the tone for that. We need to start setting our own ground rules, because at the end of the day, it's getting out of hand. people who are coming from other places think that they have the same rights that you have. No, you have courtesies. There's a difference, right? You have courtesies. We've given you a courtesy. We've extended you a courtesy, okay? And we've given you some additional privileges, but those are not rights that you have. If you're an immigrant, that's just it. You're an immigrant. That means that we have given you courtesy. We have given you the courtesy to allow you to do certain things. That doesn't mean that you come over here and you start making the rules.
Is somebody American if both of their parents are Nigerian, but they came here on vacation, had birth, then left?
No.
But they were born here.
They were born here, but the parents were not legally allowed to be here, so they can't be American.
So what happens to the kid in that case?
They would have to go back to Nigeria.
So despite the kid being born here, they should be sent back to Nigeria?
Well, the parents weren't legally here, so yeah.
Well, let's say they were on vacation. Well, I said vacation, so I don't know if that's...
Well, I mean, yeah, technically, when I say legal, what I mean is a permanent legal status. That is to say they are a green card, they're a naturalized citizen, or they're a U.S.-born citizen. Because that's not the case, you wouldn't become a citizen.
Now, I don't know if it's true or it got passed, but I heard Trump got rid of birthright citizenship.
He's trying to. It's going before the Supreme Court right now.
I support that, and you're on board with that as well?
Yeah, I'm on board with getting rid of birthright citizenship.
I'm that type of person that's going to have your back all day long. But when it comes time to hold your feet to the fire, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. And the time has come. So gather around, listen up. Let me learn you something. Birthright citizenship, it had to be started because of Black people. Birthright citizenship is tied to slavery. Before the Civil War, Black people, enslaved or free, weren't considered people. They weren't considered citizens. This is Dred Scott. Dred Scott fought for our right to exist as people in this country. Dred Scott and his wife Harriet sued for their freedom. He was a slave, bought and sold like a piece of property. In 1857, the Supreme Court made sure we knew where we stood, saying that no Black person, free or enslaved, could ever be a U.S. citizen. But after the Civil War, Congress passed the 14th Amendment in 1868 to explicitly overturn Dred Scott and make sure that anybody that's born on U.S. soil is automatically a U.S. citizen. This was about making sure that formerly enslaved Black Americans could never have their citizenship stripped from them again. And yet here we are, watching people try to undo all of that work. We know they put a block on it. How long is that going to last? They say it's about immigration. Let's be real, if they can strip it from one group, who's next? Birthright citizenship is a correction, a promise that no one born here could be denied their place. And if we let them rewrite that, we're erasing the very foundation of freedom.
Birthright citizenship is going away, and people want Black Americans to put the capes on and care about them, and we don't give a shit. Because every time we need another group, including people from the African diaspora, what do? You find ways to shit on our freaking legends like the Buffalo Soldiers, Harriet Tubman, so many others. You find a way to come over and undermine us. You find a way to go in and get under white supremacists and find a way to just constantly find a way to shit on us. To show us there is no unity. We've tried the whole Black and brown unity. We tried to save the freaking African diaspora. At this point, we are fucking resting. We don't give a shit. Now, if I don't speak for you, that's fine. But I can guarantee you a good chunk of Black America is sick of everybody's shit. So it don't matter if you come from the freaking diaspora or any other group. We don't care.
I don't see a lot of creators talking about this, but the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral arguments regarding President Trump's challenge to birthright citizenship on April 1st, 2026. The case that President Trump is challenging focuses on whether an executive order can end automatic citizenship for children born in the U.S. to undocumented or temporary status. That could be a big win for Black Americans because, as we all know, Black Americans are the descendants of slaves, which the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship was originally for. So basically, because the United States is having an immigration issue, if this order that Trump is challenging gets passed, Black Americans in America will have a greater chance now of getting assistance, getting a job, and so much more. Like, you guys need to wake up and realize what's going on right now.
Y'all ever think about who benefits the most from these birthright citizenship? Check this out. Approximately 67% of Latinos and Hispanics are only citizens because of the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship. Yes, 67% of their 68 million are only U.S. citizens because of birthright citizenship, the 14th Amendment. They're naturalized citizens. 12 to 13% of them are only naturalized citizens. This means these individuals who were born abroad and later went through the legal process to become U.S. citizens. Only 12 to 13% went through the legal process. Now, non-citizens, this is 21%. And in this category, this is lawful permanent residents, green card holders, and unauthorized, undocumented, illegal immigrants make up 21%. But yeah, that 67% is only due to the 14th Amendment. Asians, let me talk about Asians right quick. And then I'm gonna let y'all go. 46% of their population is only U.S. citizens because of birthright citizenship, the 14th Amendment. So out of the 24 million Asians that's in this country, 46% of them are only citizens because of the 14th Amendment. This comes from Pew Research Center. Pew is legit. It's as legit as it get. Oh, and let me share one more thing with y'all from New York Times. 2050 projections, studies suggest that if current birthright citizenship laws remain, 8 in 10 children born into households without legal status by 2050 could be of Hispanic origins. And this is all off the backs of enslaved Black Americans and
everything in America runs through Black people. I know that sounds weird to some of you. You're like, wait, what are you talking about? But I want you to hear me out, okay? Black people, our pain built half this country, if not more. Our joy built the other half, if not more. And every single time we get close to something that looks like full citizenship, full belonging, full personhood, somebody shows up and then they take it away. Today, the Supreme Court could rule on birthright citizenship. They have been spending months letting you think that this is an immigration story. This is not an immigration story. It is kind of, but it's not really an immigration story. This is a story about Black history. It's a Black history story. Wearing an immigration costume is what it is. The 14th Amendment was written in 1868. This is the reason that they don't want you to learn Black history, because Black history is American history. Everyone's like, I'm sure, like birthright citizenship, this is about people who are not born in the country, and mainly about probably, Latino and people from South America and other. Yes and no. They are using Black people in America to get to those other ethnicities. The 14th Amendment was written in 1868. That was 3 years after the Civil War. The 1857 ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States looked at a man, his name was Dred Scott, and they said, Black people, free or enslaved, were never meant to be citizens. That was the law of this land. So after the war, after a war that killed more than 600,000 people, after Black men fought and died in that war for a country that didn't even consider them human, this nation wrote an amendment to say, never again.
So, brothers and sisters, I came here with my African brother. I want to ask him some questions on this topic that is fueling conversations on internet. What's up?
I'm doing good. How is you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you think it's right for an African mother to book a flight to the USA being pregnant, 8 months pregnant, and then at the time of giving birth, that baby become an American citizen?
I think that's not fair somehow. Because first of all, that child is going to have parents who are not Americans, who know nothing about American culture, the ways of life, politics, everything about America. After birth, do that child stay in America or go back to the home country of her parents? There's a controversy there. If she says, we will go take care of her, and what if the baby goes back with the parents and come back after some few years after growing up without being a real American? You'll be American in paper, but culturally, morally, behaviors and everything, he won't be an American actually. It will be in the paper. So on some point, on some percentage, I think it's not fair actually. I think it's not fair.
And this is what many of these Black American brothers and sisters are saying. They're literally saying that it is wrong for somebody just to be given American citizenship because they are born in the USA. This has been happening for many years. We've been seeing many stories of people from China who are just booking for a visiting, who are asking for a visa, and they go there being pregnant just with a sole purpose of giving birth there in the USA so that their babies are going to become Americans. So this birthright citizenship was originally established to make sure that the children of formerly enslaved people become Americans. Oh, that's how it started. But because in the Constitution, it was written that every person who is born on the American land, American soil, is going to become an American. Now, many of these migrants saw that as a chance for them to start misusing this 14th Amendment that was originally meant for Black Americans.
There was a motive for that amendment to happen or to exist, generally. So I think going back through why the amendment was made, that's what should be followed morally.
Yes, we have passed through those clips and what many of these Black Americans, brothers and sisters are saying. They're literally saying that it is very wrong for these migrants to misuse a role that was established, that was set to benefit foundational Black Americans. About 67% of Latinos living in the USA have become Americans just through birthright citizenship. In fact, there are many Africans here in Africa who are Americans and they are not even aware of that.
I don't know about that. Yes,
you can even be an American.
So they were born there and their parents brought them back in Africa.
Yes.
They lived in Africa, grown up in Africa.
Yes.
And maybe they didn't get the money
to go back there to America.
And they remain American living in
Africa. They are American by citizenship.
Who lives in Africa?
I was shocked. I had a story from one of my Nigerian friends. He told me that he was shocked to discover that he is an American. And he has been fighting so hard to get to go to America.
Oh, God.
And then his parents told him that you are an American. He was shocked. He was 25 years.
Jesus Christ.
Now he went to the airport. They told him you're American.
So I think all those are the result of the corrupted system, maybe. If the system got corrupt, that's where those loopholes exist. People can easily manipulate it because that means people from other continents who have means to go to America to have their wives go give birth there. So it's actually a citizenship for rich, or not actually rich, for people with means to go there and get their wife, they give birth there in America and they come back. So that means anybody who has means can be an American.
True, very true.
And what about the people who fought for it, the descendants of the people who fought for it?
Yes.
So they have right to claim about their rights. So I understand their voice. I understand where does that come from. So I agree with that.
Very true. One thing that is very tricky about this situation is we have these rich Asians from China, rich Asians from South Korea. They are paying surrogate mothers. You know surrogate mothers? Where you get a mom to get pregnant for you. Now they are paying surrogate American mothers to get pregnant for them
and
so that their children
will be born in America
and then become Americans.
Oh my goodness, that is cultural infiltration, if we may say that.
It's very wrong.
It's very wrong.
Your brothers and sisters, you've heard what people are saying in those clips. Many migrants, you saw that Asian lady who is hungry. She is literally angry because normal people are going to become Americans like how she became an American. And they are angry. Been watching a bunch of clips from people from the Caribbean who became Americans by this birthright citizenship. They are angry. And I'm not really trying to just make them angry. I understand where they're coming from. But again, we've got to be logical.
On the other hand, those people from Asia, from Caribbeans, or from Africa who are born there, on the other hand, those people have found themselves in that situation. Maybe there should be a way to make it right. Like people who get a citizenship who are legally fit to get that citizenship.
True.
But on the other hand, those people who found themselves there, he was born there or she was born there, where else can she go?
No, we're not accusing them of doing anything wrong. Actually, what I don't even support about this Trump administration is the way they were talking about revoking the citizenship of people who became Americans through that way. And that is where they are very wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody is an American.
They don't know any other country. Maybe she was born there through that process, and her parents maybe had the means as well to bring her back to grow there, to grow up there, and go to school there in America, elementary school, high school, university, and college, and everything. So saying that you're going to remove her citizenship, like, it won't be right, because she doesn't know any other country up to now.
True.
So the damage is already done. But what our brothers are saying there is very right, because that's how things get corrected.
True.
If they don't speak about it, the circle will keep on through 100 years, 1,000 years, repeat itself, 100 years, and they'll find themselves with other people who may even be dangerous to American society, because they are Americans by paper, but logically, morally, the motive has nothing to do with the American system. So they may even fight America, the real America.
Yeah.
So they are American in paper, but they hate American ideology. So they'll be creating their own enemies through the whole world of corners. So somehow that's why the damage is already done, but speaking about it, that's how the change will be brought. So I agree with you all.
Okay. Brothers and sisters, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed watching this episode, make sure you support us by clicking on that like button. And those viewers who've been watching us without subscribing, please do us a favor and smash on the subscribe button.
Yeah.
TA, your African brother signing off. Ciao.